In this life you are not tested when things are easy. You are tested when someone disrespects you, when someone lies about you, when someone provokes you, waiting for your reaction. That is the moment, not for retaliation, but for observation. There is a saying, a tiger does not concern itself with the opinion of sheep. And yet, how often do we allow the barking of small minds to shake the peace of our inner world? Silence is often misunderstood. People see it as a lack, as emptiness, as something passive. But the truth is, silence is one of the most powerful expressions of inner control. It takes immense strength to remain calm when every part of you wants to react, to speak, to defend, or to strike back. The human mind is conditioned to respond, to justify, to explain. But mastery begins when you realize that not every situation requires your voice. True strength is not in being loud, but in being still. A still mind is not confused. A still spirit is not broken. A still presence commands more respect than noise ever will. Imagine being in the middle of chaos. Voices raised, tempers flaring, people pointing fingers, judging, assuming. And there you are, quiet, composed, unmoved, not because you don't care, but because you've trained yourself to remain rooted like a tree in the storm. This kind of silence doesn't come from fear. It doesn't come from weakness. It comes from discipline, from knowing yourself so well that external noise cannot shake your inner peace. Silence is not retreat. It's not surrender. It's strategy. It is a conscious decision to not react when provoked. Because when you react emotionally, you give your power away. You let others steer your state of mind. But when you remain silent, you hold your position. You watch. You learn. You gather insight. You allow space for truth to surface without distortion. It is in that space that clarity emerges. People who have mastered themselves do not need to prove anything. They don't shout to be heard. Their energy speaks before their mouth does. Their calmness creates discomfort in those who thrive on drama. Their quietness unsettles the loud. Why? Because silence reveals everything. It makes the insecure feel exposed. It reflects back to them the chaos they carry. When you don't react, you hold up a mirror. And some people can't stand what they see. There is a kind of inner silence that comes from having nothing to prove. You're no longer in competition. You're not living to impress, to argue, to correct every misunderstanding. You understand that peace is more valuable than winning an argument. You understand that your energy is sacred, that it must be protected, not wasted. So you choose silence, not because you don't have a response, but because you value your inner stillness more. Even in relationships, this silence becomes a form of strength. It becomes a boundary, a shield. When someone tries to bait you into conflict, your silence shows them you won't be moved that easily. You won't be dragged into emotional chaos just to satisfy someone else's need for attention or control. You know that real connection isn't built on shouting matches or who talks more. It's built on understanding, presence, and restraint. In moments of challenge, silence allows you to return to yourself, to pause, to breathe, to listen, not to others, but to your own awareness. It lets you evaluate the situation with clarity rather than react out of ego or pain. You begin to realize that your silence holds more truth than any argument could. That sometimes, the loudest message is the one you choose not to speak. This form of silence is not something you learn overnight. It takes practice. It takes conscious effort to not speak when provoked, to not explain when misunderstood, to not fight when disrespected. It requires you to sit with discomfort, with anger, with the desire to retaliate, and let it pass through you without acting on it. This is where true growth happens, in those spaces where you could have reacted, but you chose not to. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is the mark of someone who has mastered themselves. Your reaction gives others control. Your stillness keeps it. This simple truth can transform the way you deal with people, conflict, and everyday situations. Every time you react impulsively, emotionally, or without awareness, You hand over your inner authority. You give someone else the power to shape your mental state, to dictate your emotions, to steer your energy. When you react, you are no longer in control. The situation is. The person who provoked you becomes the puppeteer, and you become the puppet, dancing to emotions that are no longer truly yours. The moment you allow someone's actions or words to pull you out of your balance, you have surrendered something sacred in your center. Stillness, on the other hand, is the art of holding on to that center. It's not passivity or inaction. It is presence. It's awareness with stability. It's the recognition that while you cannot control what others do or say, you always have a choice in how you respond. And in that choice lies your freedom. When you are still, you see clearly. You don't get swept up in the wave of the moment. You don't let anger take the wheel. You don't let fear write your script. You simply watch. You observe the energy in motion, and instead of becoming it, you let it pass. This is not easy. It requires emotional maturity and a deep commitment to self-mastery. But it is possible. And the more you practice it, the more powerful you become. Because in stillness, you keep your power where it belongs, inside. You stop giving it away in small pieces. Every time someone disrespects you or misunderstands you, you stop trying to fix everything with words. You begin to understand that not everything requires your input. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every confrontation is worth your peace. The world will constantly try to pull you out of this stillness. People will test your boundaries. Circumstances will challenge your patience. You will be tempted again and again to react, to prove a point, to defend yourself, to win. But what is the real win if you lose yourself in the process? If you feel drained, angry, and disconnected afterward? Is that victory? Or is it a loss disguised as a momentary release? Stillness teaches you to be selective with your energy. It helps you recognize that your peace is too expensive to spend on every small disruption. It teaches you to respond from clarity rather than react from chaos. You start to realize that the most powerful person in any room is not the loudest. It's the one who stays rooted. The one who can feel everything, yet choose to remain calm. The one who hears the noise but listens only to truth. The one who, even in discomfort, chooses presence over panic. When you master stillness, you become unshakable. You are no longer controlled by other people's opinions, reactions, or expectations. You stop being a slave to external validation. Your self-worth is no longer at the mercy of someone else's behavior. You begin to live from the inside out, rather than the outside in. And that shift changes everything, because in stillness, you become aware. And awareness is the birthplace of choice. You are no longer a victim of life's chaos. You are the witness, the observer, the quiet power in the storm. You understand that while others may try to provoke you, their success depends entirely on your permission, and you don't give it. Not because you are afraid, not because you are weak, but because you've remembered who you are, and you've chosen to keep your power, rather than trade it for momentary satisfaction. Not every action deserves your energy. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, demands your reaction, and challenges your focus, learning where to place your energy is not just wisdom. It is survival. Every day, countless situations arising, distractions, opinions, arguments, temptations, comparisons. Each one invites you to spend a piece of yourself. Each one asks you to give something, your time, your attention, your emotions, your peace. But not all of them are worthy. Not all of them align with your purpose. Not all of them serve your growth. You are not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. You are not required to answer every insult, explain yourself to every doubter, or respond to every provocation. There is a kind of freedom that comes when you realize you can simply choose silence. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to protect your energy instead of proving your point. And in doing so, you honor your path. Energy is currency. Every thought you entertain, Every conversation you engage in, every reaction you give, you are spending something. And if you do not become conscious of where and how you spend it, you will wake up drained, exhausted, and unclear. Just like money, your energy must be budgeted. You do not give it away to everything and everyone simply because they demand it. You become mindful, intentional. You begin to ask, is this worth it? Will this help me grow? Will this elevate my peace or disturb it? Some actions and situations appear urgent, but they are distractions dressed as priorities. Some people seem important, but they are simply loud. Some problems look like they need your input, but they resolve themselves if left alone. When you realize this, you stop rushing. You stop reacting. You start observing more and doing less. Not because you're lazy, but because you understand the cost of misused energy. It takes maturity to know when to act and when to hold back. It takes wisdom to see that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. You may be capable of confronting someone, correcting a lie, or getting involved in a situation. But the question is, at what cost? Is it worth your peace? Is it worth disturbing your inner stillness? Is it worth delaying your growth for the sake of being right or being heard? Every choice has a price, and energy is the price you pay for poor decisions. When you waste your energy on meaningless conflict, unnecessary validation, or constant reaction, you have less left for the things that truly matter. Your goals, your health, your peace of mind, your relationships that uplift rather than drain. You start to recognize that protecting your energy is not selfish, it is sacred. It is an act of self-respect. There's a quiet confidence that comes from choosing where your energy goes. You no longer feel the need to explain your silence, justify your distance, or apologize for your boundaries. You know your value, and so you spend yourself wisely. You keep your circle clean. You keep your space clear. You stay focused on what builds you rather than what breaks you. When you treat your energy like the limited resource it is, you stop wasting it on things that no longer deserve you. You let go of the need to be everywhere, say everything, fix everyone. You return your focus to what actually moves your life forward. And from that place of clarity, you begin to live more simply, more powerfully, and more intentionally. Observation before response is the path to wisdom. In a world where speed is glorified, where answers are expected instantly, and where reaction is mistaken for strength, slowing down to observe becomes a radical act. It is not easy to pause when provoked, to remain silent when disrespected, to hold your thoughts when misunderstood. But this moment of pause, this space between stimulus and response, is where awareness lives. And awareness is the foundation of wisdom. When something happens, when someone says something to you or about you, the immediate pull is to react. Emotion rises quickly. Anger, frustration, hurt ego. And if you follow that first wave, you lose control. But if you observe first, you create space. In that space, you can see clearly. You can question what's really happening. You can ask yourself, is this about me or about them? Is this important or just noise? Does this need a response, or is silence the better answer? Observation allows you to separate truth from impulse. You begin to see that not every emotion needs to be expressed. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every situation needs your involvement. The more you observe, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the less you react. You learn to respond from a place of clarity rather than confusion. You shift from being driven by emotion to being guided by insight. This is not avoidance. It is not weakness. It is strength in its most refined form. Because anyone can react, but only the grounded can wait, observe, and respond with intention. It takes discipline to observe when your ego wants to react. It takes maturity to ask questions when your pride wants to attack. It takes inner peace to remain still in the face of chaos. Observation sharpens your perception. You begin to notice the subtle patterns behind people's behavior. You start to understand the emotional state behind the words they use. You see that much of what people say or do is not really about you. It is about their own unresolved wounds, insecurities, projections. And when you realize this, you stop taking things personally. You stop reacting to every slight, every insult, every shift in someone else's mood. You remain centered, because your stability is not built on external validation. In the space created by observation, you also discover your own triggers. You become aware of what makes you angry, what unsettles you, what pulls you into conflict. This awareness is a gift, because now you can work on those areas. You are no longer controlled by your unconscious patterns. You start to choose your responses consciously. You respond not from habit, but from intention. Not from pain, but from wisdom. The power of observation is that it gives you choice. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. And that choice defines the quality of your life. When you respond with awareness, you create better outcomes. You build stronger relationships. You preserve your energy. You maintain your integrity. And over time, people begin to sense that they cannot manipulate you. They cannot provoke you, because you do not give your power away so easily. Even in conflict, observation becomes your shield. You see not just what is said, but what is not said. You hear the emotion behind the words. You notice your own heartbeat, your breath, your posture. You stay connected to your inner world while navigating the outer one. And this connection becomes your compass. It helps you act from alignment, not from chaos. The more you observe, the more you understand the impermanence of everything. Emotions rise and fall. Situations come and go. But your awareness remains. It becomes the eye of the storm, calm and clear, watching, learning, growing. Inner peace is disturbed only by permission. No one can reach into your mind and stir chaos without your allowance. The noise of the world may be loud, the behavior of others may be unpredictable, and life itself may present constant waves of uncertainty. But what happens inside you is still your domain. Most people live as if they are at the mercy of external forces, reacting to situations, comments, and energy as though they have no choice. But the truth is, your response is your choice, and your inner stillness is your responsibility. People will speak out of turn. They will misunderstand you, project onto you, judge you, and sometimes even betray you. Life will present moments of loss, failure, and confusion. But none of these things can take away your peace unless you allow them to enter your inner space. That space is sacred. It is where your thoughts are born, where your emotions are felt, and where your spirit lives. To protect it, you must become the gatekeeper of your mind. You must decide what enters, what stays, and what is allowed to shape your reality. It often begins with awareness. The moment you feel disturbed, the moment you notice your energy shift. Pause. Ask yourself, what did I just allow in? Was it a word, a glance, a memory, a judgment? Was it even real, or just my interpretation of what happened? This moment of questioning returns you to your power. It reminds you that nothing has the authority to shake your peace unless you open the door and invite it in. Inner peace is not found in controlling the world. It is found in mastering the self. Because the world is not in your hands, but your mind is. And when you begin to prioritize your peace over your pride, your presence over your impulse, and your purpose over your need to be right, something begins to shift. You become less reactive. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to manage everything around you, and instead begin managing what is within you. Every day brings 1,000 chances to give away your peace. A rude message, a delayed plan, an unfair outcome, a closed door. But each of these is also an invitation to strengthen your boundary. To say to yourself, I will not allow this to enter me. I will not let this decide how I feel. I will not give this moment more power than it deserves. And slowly, you begin to reclaim your space. Even your thoughts can become uninvited guests. Doubts, fears, regrets, worries, they will knock on your door. Some days they may come in with force, but you still have a choice. You can sit with them, understand them, but not allow them to take root. You can breathe through the discomfort and remain still inside, like a calm lake beneath a stormy sky. Because you know the storm will pass, and your stillness will remain. You do not need the world to be quiet for you to feel peace. You only need to stop giving every disturbance the right to live inside your mind. That right is yours alone to grant or deny. When you understand this deeply, you become untouchable in a way that is not arrogant, but grounded. People may try to provoke you, but find no opening. Events may happen, but you remain centered. The noise may rise, but inside you remain silent. This kind of peace is not accidental. It is cultivated. It is practiced. It is chosen over and over again until it becomes your natural state. Until the things that once disturbed you lose their grip. Until you begin to feel your own presence more than the pressure of the world. And in that presence, there is a strength so deep, nothing outside you can shake it. Power is felt most when nothing needs to be said. True strength is quiet. It does not need to announce itself, prove itself, or defend itself. It simply is. In a world where so many shout to be heard, where so many rush to respond, to explain, to react, there is something commanding about the one who chooses silence. Not the silence of fear or submission, but the silence of deep inner confidence. The kind of silence that comes from knowing exactly who you are, without needing anyone else to validate it. Words can be powerful, but they can also be excessive. They can become noise, a distraction from what is real. When someone is deeply grounded, their presence speaks before they do. Their calmness carries more weight than volume ever could. They don't need to argue their worth, defend their truth, or battle over opinions. They have already won in the quiet decision not to engage in every fight, not to attend every invitation to conflict, not to spend energy on meaningless noise. This kind of power is not found in force. It's not loud or aggressive. It doesn't rise with anger or fall with fear. It's the kind of power that radiates silently, through body language, through breath, through stillness. It is not shaken by accusation, not broken by misunderstanding, not disturbed by provocation, because it knows, deeply and unshakably, that it does not need to respond to everything in order to remain whole. In difficult moments, silence can be the highest form of intelligence. It shows restraint. It shows discipline. It shows that the need to react has been replaced by the wisdom to simply observe. There is a calm strength in withholding your energy from places that do not deserve it. There is a dignity in choosing not to lower your frequency just because someone else is uncomfortable in theirs. When nothing needs to be said, it means clarity has already been reached. It means the self no longer needs to convince the outside world of its worth. It means maturity has taken the place of ego. The person who no longer needs to be right in every situation, who no longer feels the pull to correct every false statement, who no longer reacts to every trigger, is the one who has found a deeper form of power, one that is rooted within and unbothered without. Often, those who say the most reveal the least. They speak not to express wisdom, but to fill silence they fear. But those who are at peace within themselves, those who have walked through their own storms and come out whole, understand that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. Let the noise pass. Let the emotion settle. Let the truth reveal itself without force. The one who waits in silence often sees the most. Even in confrontation, power lies not in shouting louder, but in holding your ground with stillness. When others expect a reaction and find none, it reflects back their own chaos. Your silence becomes a mirror. It becomes a lesson. It speaks more than your words ever could. It tells the world that your peace is not up for trade, that your energy is not on sale, that your presence is not a performance for others to evaluate. This kind of inner stillness is not given, it is earned through practice, through awareness, through countless moments of choosing not to react when every part of you wanted to. It is built one breath at a time, in spaces of discomfort, through lessons learned in silence. Over time, the need to speak becomes less urgent, the need to be seen becomes less important, and the realization begins to dawn that real power does not come from being heard. It comes from being unfazed. The power of not reacting is not about silence for silence's sake. It is about reclaiming control over your inner world. It is about choosing presence over impulse, stillness over chaos, and wisdom over ego. In every moment you are given a choice to react and give your power away, or to observe, respond, and remain anchored. True strength is not shown through loud words or quick responses, but through calm restraint, intentional awareness, and the discipline to protect your peace. When you learn to win without saying a word, you rise above the noise. Not because you are silent, but because you are powerful enough not to speak.